Amaziah gathers the men of Judah, made them captains over thousands. He divides them into their roles, and captains over hundreds according to the houses of their fathers. He actually divides them very well according to the strategy that he was given. But then what does he do later? He feels like God's provision is insufficient and goes ahead and hires 100,000 mighty men of valor out of Israel. Now, when the man of God came and warned him, he was like, now what am I going to do with 100 talents of silver that I have already paid to Israel? He felt like, no, I cannot just lose this amount of money. I cannot just lose this. He felt like this was not going to work. He felt like he could not lose 100 talents of silver that he had already paid to Israel. And in any case, he had already committed to them that they were actually going to be a part of the war. And in the Old Testament, whenever they would go for war and they win, they would actually take the spoil. Now imagine they had trained, prepared themselves because they knew they were actually going to win and they were going to benefit not only from the 100 talents of silver, but from the spoil. And then he didn't know exactly how he was going to disappoint them. But the challenge is, what is better? To obey God and disappoint man, or not to disappoint man? Because you do not know the consequences of them missing out on the spoil. He decided to disobey God and actually went down to that battle, and he was defeated because God had already told him, you will actually fall to your enemy. He was defeated in that battle because he wanted to please. He did not know how to ask God, okay, how do I deal with the consequences of my actions? Because I already made a decision, paid 100 talents of silver, and there are going to be consequences because these men have already trained and they would want to go and benefit from the spoil. In the first place, he was supposed to ask, should I go and pay for these men? Now, that was a mistake that was already made. But then he didn't go back again to ask, how do I deal with the consequences of my actions? God would still have given him a strategy for that as well. But he did not go back to ask for the strategy, how to correct. He was not humble enough. Just like David, when he used to make mistakes, he would go back to the Lord and acknowledge his mistakes and then ask, what exactly should I do? Because there's always going to be consequences for our actions. But then even in the consequences, you're going to ask God, how do I lessen the impact of the consequences that are upon me because of this that I have done? He did not ask. So we go back to the beginning, back to verse 2. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, but it was not wholehearted. So you see, whenever you do something that is not from the heart, it will always grow into something. It will always bear fruits. And these are the fruits that were born out of him being right in the sight of the Lord, but not wholeheartedly.